Ah, welcome, my little ones, to Stephen Keen's 3 Nights of Terror! 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 On this, our first night, we will be telling a story that is so horrendous it will scare the poop out of you. I'm serious, guys. There's going to be a big stream of poop coming out of your britches. You're going to fly up in the air and hit your head on the ceiling. It's going to be that scary. So, I will allow Seth Lewis to share the story of the man in the purple suit.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Keen. You are always an interesting guest. And now it is time for us to take a step into the abyss of madness and stare into the eyes of death itself, as I share with you all the story of the man in the purple suit. Before I begin, I would like to make a quick note about the sidebars. A lot of you might notice that they are there, even though in previous episodes they were not. And the reason for that is the removal of them is a complicated process. In fact, it is so complicated I'm not going to do it except on special videos. I would also like to state that this episode is graphic. I think only at a PG-13 level, but be aware of that. Now, the man in the purple suit. Those few who have seen him have said it was like looking into the eyes of the godless. No one's sure when he made his first appearance. Some say that he's been here since man first crawled out of his cave and the idea of murder entered his head. Others point to India and Africa. Others point to medieval documents where he is seen wandering around the plague victims. But the first true evidence we get of him, that can be definitely concluded, is in 1801 in Kazakhstan, where he was at first seen by the townsfolk wandering around some beggars and causing squabbles amongst them. He eventually arrived at the home of Ali Tamir, and he walked up and he knocked at the door. And the girl who answered it, Bathsheba, said that she wasn't bothered by his appearance. In fact, she felt as if she had been expecting it. She welcomed him in, and when she reflected on it later, she realized he was an abnormal fellow. He was very tall, up to the ceiling, and had pale white skin, a purple striped suit, very pale blonde hair, if that makes any sense, and a big smile on his face. An eternal smile, in fact. That was what most strikes a lot of people when they see him. Anyways, Ali Tamir welcomed him to the dinner table and talked to him as if he was an old friend, as if he had knew him. And they were all sitting there, and everything seemed to be going fine. Ali Tamir even complimented his wife on her cooking. But as they were sitting there, Ali Tamir turned to his wife, picked up a knife, and stabbed her in the hand. And she let out a scream, and he pulled it out, and he ran towards her, and Bathsheba was able to gain enough composure to grab hold of her brother Israel and to run out of the room. But she could hear her father screaming, "You wench, you've been unfaithful," and her screaming, "No, no." And as she looked over, she could see out of the corner of her eye the man in the purple suit sitting there, and his face was speckled in blood, and there was this big smile on his face, and he didn't even move during this whole instant. Well, eventually the proper authorities arrived, and they were able to find the father underneath a bridge, and he didn't even say anything. The whole time, for quite a few days, he was just silent. But this wouldn't be the last they would see of the man in the purple suit in Kazakhstan or in the world. He would appear and cause families to have strife or to murder each other, and sometimes the cops would even be able to detain him, but they would end up talking to him like an old friend and letting him loose because, after all, he wasn't responsible for the murders. He would appear during wars. In World War I, the soldiers came across him near the trenches in the woods, And they, for whatever reason, invited him over, and he came down, and he was given a blanket and some coffee. And it so happened that a man named Jimmy Warsaw was having a bit of trouble with a bully named Bert, a big fat man who was constantly picking on him and had just stolen his bread. And Jimmy Warsaw couldn't stand it anymore. He ran forward and he hit his rifle down onto Bert's head and began to hit it quite a few times repeatedly. But the soldiers were close by, so they were able to grab hold of him. But it was no use, as Bert was dead, and the man in the purple suit just simply sat there and smiled at this. Many more times he would appear during the Holocaust. He would appear sometimes just randomly, just not even being invited in. He would just suddenly be seen by a person and then disappear. And there was one person, a girl named Annabelle from England, who said that she wasn't bothered by his appearance. And this is a very interesting case, because most people that meet the man in the purple suit hate him. But Annabelle said that her mother, Esther, had been having quite a row with her father, Howard, and that he was beating her, and her, Annabelle. And when the man in the purple suit came in, she found him comforting. And when her mother ended up killing Howard, she stabbed him repeatedly as well, she said that she had been expecting this, and that if the man in the purple suit hadn't arrived, this was going to occur anyways. And so, I don't know what to make of the man in the purple suit. Some have called him the demon that knocks at doors, others the hairbringer, others the shadow, and some say that he's just coming across these circumstances without any idea that they were going to happen. But what I will say is this, that if the man in the purple suit knocks at your door, don't answer it.